Hi, I'm Greg Filson, known from the BXG podcast. You can get that anywhere. I'm here to tell you about really great sunglasses from Ambassador Sunglasses. If you need any kind, any style, they really do a representation. Men or women, you'll find a perfect pair, good prices, and with my promo code GTPHILS, all caps, you can get 50% off starting now. Yeah, please go ahead, get yourself a pair, get someone else a pair. They're a really good price. I can't recommend them highly enough. I've been wearing the 4 that I've got all the time, and I get compliments all the time. You will too. Ambassador Sunglasses, ambassador.com. Promo code GTPHILS.
Welcome to the BXG podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as Harrison Ford begrudgingly making money. This is episode 65. I am one of your hosts, Brenton Beswick, alongside my co-host, that ugly little boy, Greg Filson.
Well, says I have character. Episode 65, so it should be able to get a social security check
right
at this point, so right. That's good.
Right.
Good to know. Happy retirement.
How's it going for Greg?
It's going all right. I mean, cutting cardstock into snowmen, so snowmen ornaments is what we're working on right now, so good. Yeah,
I'm very glad for that.
It's the only way I'm making a snowman out in this part. Although it did snow in the mountains out here actually the other day.
And then I have a buddy that lives in I think New Mexico, maybe Arizona, and he said that they had some like not insignificant amount of snow there.
Yeah, we got a ton of rain here, and it was cold for here. Like, I mean, at night it was in the 30s. So
yeah. Oh,
it can do that here. It can do that here.
Right. Bummer. 30s. Yeah. Let's see. Housekeeping. BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services around the globe. You can catch us on social media, facebook.com/BXG podcast, Instagram at BXG podcast, at GTFills, at Y2B, Twitter at BXG Podcasts, at GT Filson, at Y2B, our YouTube channel, BXG Podcast YouTube channel. Other pieces of housekeeping this week, we released not 1, but 2 extra episodes. The first of those was a discussion between myself and a friend of mine, Charles Chambers, came on. We talked video games for about an hour and a half, the year in review of some of our favorite games, least favorite games, and we talked about some of the major news stories that came out of the gaming industry of the past year. And then on Tuesday we released our year in review movie wrap up with Tony and Nick from My Mom's Garage podcast. And like I had said in that episode, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, if you like our content, you probably like their content, because it was like looking in a mirror as far as going back through their back catalog with some of the different topics that they talked about and we talked about. So it was a lot of fun on both accounts. Talk some games, talk some movies. Might be looking to do something similar in the next couple of weeks with another topic or two just to wind down the year. But we're still going to do our weekly sessions for everybody. And the other thing is that we will have, in the last episode of the year, which will be on New Year's Eve, it'll be the BXG Awards. It'll be the BXG Awards, in which we break down some of our favorites from the year. And what we're also going to do with that is we're going to put out all of our nominees on our social media feeds, probably twice between now and then, so that people can vote. So we're going to do a people's choice, and then we have cobbled together an expert panel of voters for our official BXG awards. So the panel will feature multiple time guests. That's the rule. You have to have been on the pod twice or more in the last year. So we've got Ty McAfoos came on for Trigger Witch, Dune, Activision Blizzard conversation, Guillermo and Austin, which technically Austin was only on once, but we went on their podcast, so it's all gravy. From Tournament Style, Eddie McDonald from the Petty Eddie podcast came on to talk about WrestleMania and then was on for Summer of George. John Kish, who was on for Summer of George, and also another time to just generally harass Greg unexpectedly. One of our favorite moments. And then, of course, we would be remiss not to include DJ Outro as well. So that's, and then you and I, obviously. So that's the panel.
Not us. We're actually not on the panel.
Right. Yeah. So
we were respectively declined.
Yeah. We declined our own invitations. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Check out those extra episodes. You know, if you like movies, check out the movie episode. If you're into games, check out the games episode.
There will be the music best of too, confirmed with DJ Outro. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So expect that in the coming weeks.
Okay.
We're gonna do a rapid fire best of, but I think we're gonna have some fun.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that later, I suppose. You can fill me in on the details off camera. We've got a great show tonight. We've got Hawkeye. We've got the challenge finale. We've got a review of a Christmas movie, Home Sweet Home Alone. We've got some Star Wars news, which we haven't really talked about in a while. And then talk about some of the award nominees for Critics' Choice and Golden Globes, which are announced just a couple hours apart from each other. And Pop Culture Potpourri. So there's that. So we'll begin with Hawkeye. Episode 5. Kate and Clint split up after the battle with Maya and Yelena on the rooftop. Yelena confronts Kate in her burnt up apartment over a pan of mac and cheese and hot sauce. Yes. Meanwhile, Clint takes steps for a final confrontation with Maya. Ronan meets her and takes out all of her goons and then informs her that her father was set up by someone within the crime organization. She begins to have this realization that Kazi was not there that night. They battle and she takes his katana, and as she's about to deliver a killing blow, Kate shoots the sword from Maya's hands. They reconvene at the LARPer's residence, and Kate receives a message from Yelena informing her mother hired Yelena to kill Clint, alongside the big reveal that everybody's been waiting for, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
So it was awesome that we were right. Everyone.
Yeah.
Finally.
Not just
everyone was right.
Yeah.
So that's good. This show now has usurped WandaVision for me. I thought this episode was the best of any show we've had so far of any of the Marvel shows. It had real stakes. It had, enough humor, but not too much. Like the Yelena Kate scene was great with the mac and cheese. And, even when like Kate, has I know it's boxed mac and cheese, it's delicious. Like that was just a great little subline there. There's real stakes. It's the fact that it's Kate's mom that has hired Yelena to kill Clint is rad. And then we get Kingpin, who, I talked about one having a Spider-Verse in some way, shape, or form, like in the live action Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's setting up to have a pretty, whether it's the finale itself is big within this show, it'll definitely be that, but I feel like it's going to have a big impact going forward in the MCU, at least in the sense of the grounded MCU, which is where you and I kind of prefer things anyhow. And so for me, on that end of things, this is my favorite episode. I wanted it to be a little bit longer, honestly. I knew how it was not that long of an episode. Yeah, exactly. And so when I realized that it was just, not that long of an episode, I was like, wow, it could have been 5 more minutes of something like banter, but I feel like the finale is going to be awesome. And when I thought that you somehow got the finale, through a miscommunication.
Yeah.
I was like, where did you get this? Who do I have to dismember? So
Yeah.
I love this episode. I thought it was just, exactly the best of what these kind of ground and pound MCU episodes can be.
I think that I agree with you as of right now. I'm not going to say Hawkeye's past WandaVision. In some respects, it has. In other respects, it is not. There were times when Wanda lagged a little bit, like the pacing wasn't as good as it could be. I really think those first two episodes were such with WandaVision where it was like, this is just world building and there's not a lot going on. And that kind of contributed a little bit to the pacing stuff. And that's also why it was a longer series. It was 9 episodes, but the episodes were a little bit shorter. This has been perfectly paced from moment one to the end of this episode. As far as the finale goes, I wonder if we even see Kingpin.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, or didn't until some type of like end credit scene or like at the very end, like he doesn't play a prominent role, because I do think that the main storyline now, because I thought this episode did a really good job of tying all the disparate parts of the story together into one coherent storyline. And part of that was kind of bringing Yelena in to tie together not only, well, who did Mom hire? Who's the big guy? Who, what's the final send off for Natasha? Because I feel like the show has been, as much as it's been about Clint, it's been the proper send off to Natasha that the Black Widow movie didn't really offer us, because it was a prequel, or it was a standalone movie in a weird time in the timeline when we're all looking at moving forward, and it dragged us back. So I do think that this is like an emotional send off to Natasha. I think that the last episode is going to focus firmly on that conflict between Yelena and Clint, and him trying to make her understand that, he tried to sacrifice himself and she wouldn't let him. Basically, they fought over who was going to die, essentially. And then I do think things will wrap up, like Maya will figure out that Kazi probably was the one who outed her dad, and that's how she gets her revenge. And then she spins off into her own solo show, and that's where she gets the conflict with Kingpin, or like I said, at the very end of the episode. But I think that the bulk of the episode, the meat and the potatoes of the episode, is going to be Yelena and Clint.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, Florence Pugh is really taking on this as like a funny role, and kind of not taking over for Natasha, like a different character that we haven't really seen, where she is just a hired gun, and that's specifically it. And that's cool to see it in this. It's like she's not good or bad, she's literally just doing her job, and that's what makes this interesting. And Clint is kind of in that way, like he's neither good nor bad. He was an Avenger, sure, but then he had his time of being Ronin. So yeah, this show, like I said, I mean, I think that's probably is like every single episode. I'm like, oh, it could have been the episode could have been 2 minutes longer, 3 minutes longer. And that means something. If it leaves you wanting more, it's like we left Loki a couple times where like that could have been 10 minutes shorter of an episode.
Yeah.
And it's really done a great job. And I don't know if it's because, I don't know how these were filmed necessarily. I don't know if it was just that the longer they went along, they understood the editing was better or whatever. But this is just, to me, this is not, I mean, nothing can ever be perfect, but this is as good as these can be right now.
I think that it's all about the characters. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't work as well because those are two sidekicks. And there's nothing wrong with being a great sidekick. Like, there's a reason people get compared to Robin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Pippin and Jordan, Batman and Robin, whatever you want to say. There's nothing wrong with being a good sidekick. Like, that's perfectly acceptable. But sometimes, and I'll just continue that analogy along further, is that when Robin gets out on his own, like Pippin did with the Blazers, it doesn't work out as well.
Right.
You know, it's sometimes people are better suited for the supporting role. Now, that's not to say that Anthony Mackie's not capable of being a lead and Sebastian Stan's not capable of being a lead in a movie. It's the characters. Falcon is a sidekick. Winter Soldier's a sidekick. You know, and I think that Loki suffered a little bit from that as well, because they had Loki and they had Mobius, and Mobius was the most interesting character outside of Loki, and they sidelined him for too long in that series. And I just didn't like Sylvie as much. And so it's the characters. But I think that this show, all the characters hit, every single one. Clint hits. We have the nostalgia. We've talked about it. We have the nostalgia of him being one of the original six. Kate hits because of the relationship that she has with Clint and her just like unwillingness to listen. You know what I mean? Yelena hits because she's almost like you said, she's not replacing a character. She's a completely different character. She's got like the confidence of Tony Stark. Right. And kind of the sarcasm too, to go along with the skills that Natasha had. So that character hits the right way. Maya hits in a way that she's empathetic because of her whole situation, not just being deaf, but also having seen her father murdered by the Ronin. And so she's empathetic in one case, but she's also being manipulated, which makes her empathetic. And so that character hits. I'll be honest with you, the only character that I don't really like that much is Kate's mom, Eleanor, who's played by Vera Farmiga. She's just kind of weird to me. Like which now like kind of
almost makes sense.
Well, yeah, given what she's up to.
Right.
But I mean, for me, every single character, there's been no duds, and every single episode of this show has been exactly what it needs to be. Because I understand what you're saying, like it left you wanting more, but what would you change? You know,
right?
I mean,
Exactly.
To make it better.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You know, I'm excited for the finale. I'm sad that it felt like we just started this.
I know.
And now it's ending.
Yes.
So
yeah, it whipped through.
It's crazy.
Whipped through.
Great show.
Yes.
But we'll recap. We'll do what we normally do with the last episode. We'll do our last episode review, and we'll do a season what we thought, and we'll compare it, contrast it with the other shows. We'll move on to some Christmas time fun. Christmas time fun and hijinks. Home Sweet Home Alone. A family in need of selling a house can no longer afford, and believe a child stole a valuable collectible in an attempt to break into the house where the child is currently on his own, due to his family's flight being split in two and him being unaccounted for. He must then defend the house from the invaders. Ellie Kemper, Rob Delaney, and Archie Yates star in Home Sweet Home Alone.
So most people have seen Home Alone, the classic Christmas film starring
at least 25 times.
Macaulay Culkin. But if anybody who hasn't seen that film, allow me to recap the premise. The child who's the victim of neglect is left home to fend for himself against two seemingly invincible bandits who are unkillable, immortal,
right,
and impervious to pain. Because the reality of it is that the wet / sticky bandits, Marv and Harry, should have been dead 100 times between those two movies. And they kept coming. Right. So this movie, Home Sweet Home Alone, has a similar premise. A young man, I'll tell you what, the scene in which the house and he's vying for attention with the rest of the kids made me fucking anxious.
Oh yeah.
Just the chaos. Like I could feel my chest tighten. I could just feel it go, you know. This was a bad movie.
Yes.
It was not a good movie. The young man, Archie Yates, who plays Max Mercer was so unlikable that I almost wanted the parents who were breaking into the house to win. but they were just as unlikable.
Right.
So my hope was that the cops would show up, arrest those two nitwits, realize this kid's in home alone, his parents are in Japan, cuff him, send him to CYS, and then they send him to placement. I hated all of these characters. You had Fat Harry Potter, right? Which they actually even mentioned. I had that all queued up to make that joke, and then they mentioned it. I was so upset by that. Yeah. So for me, this movie is a 3 out of 10, but I like seeing people fall down and get hurt. So it's a 5 out.
I do too.
Bumps it up by 2.
So this is a movie where I was like, there's a lot of people, a lot of that guys in this movie. Mm-hmm. The stars of this movie are that guys. The kid was in Jojo Rabbit, you know, and but it just didn't equal the sum of its parts. Like this could have been good, except like, well, what I'm saying is it had funny people in it, you know.
Yeah, Ellie Kemper's funny.
Yeah, a lot of people in this movie were actually funny. Like Jim Rash was in this movie for a little bit. You know, he was on Community, helped write Community, and that show's great. And so if you look at this, you look at the diagram of this, you're like, this has the makings that this could be funny. Except that they tried to make the parents that were trying to break into the house somewhat redeemable, but yet they're still breaking into a house instead of trying to like initially rationalize with this child. Like, right. All you really need to do, I understand he heard that whole thing about thinking, you know, the stolen doll was him. He thought
the ugly little boy.
The ugly little boy was him. But all they really needed to do initially when they thought this was happening was like go over there and then like just ring the bell, not try to be sneaky about anything. Like 1 minute in. And that's the thing that like they try to make people redeemable who I guess are somewhat redeemable, but aren't because they just immediately go from 0 to 100. Like, oh, we're struggling. We need money. Let's break into this house. There's no middle ground. You know, at least with the Wet Bandits, they're criminals. Right. So like we don't need a background. We just assume that they're criminal. We
their know morals are already compromised.
Yeah, the morals are compromised. And so let's, you know, and like you said, like I will say this movie had moments that made me laugh. And that's like you said, I like seeing people fall down. Yes. And there's a couple lines in there that were funny. Like, you know, the kids say it, like we started out the ugly little boy. Well, my mom says I have character. And like, I did like the scene on the plane with his mom and the guy like kept looking at her screen. Yeah. Just because we've literally all been there. If you've been on a plane more than like 3 times, you have the person who will like look at your screen or do something that like is, you know, looking at your phone to see what you're listening or whatever, looking at your book. And so that, I thought that was an awkwardly funny scene. I thought everything in this movie that was funny was also made me cringe. And I think it's maybe because I'm teaching someone that's like teaching children the exact age of Max. Yeah. And so when you see that he's doing things that like, oh, of course I have to use the restroom. You know, I have a 10-year-old small bladder. And it's like, I get that now because these kids have to go to the bathroom every 20 minutes. And so like all these things made me cringe because I think I like cringe more because I'm around kids like this. So, and then the redeeming part at the end were like, oh, well, it wasn't you. We just wanted this doll. And they realized it was the soda. And then the kid, I think the most infuriating scene to me was when their in-laws were there and the little kid has the doll and he just throws it. Yeah. And I almost burned everything. I just almost burned the world down because they like congratulated him. His parents congratulated him on saving the day. And I was like, this is the problem with society. Yeah. I like lost my mind. It's like, we're congratulating children on everything instead of this, you know, now that I see this, like, so I almost burned the world down. I was like this close for the YouTube viewers and just burning the world to the ground with that scene. So I would also give it a 5 out of 10. Like it was probably a 3, like you said. I like seeing slapstick comedy, and that works enough. So my infuriation was a 12 out of 10 at some points, but yeah.
Timothy Simons, who was this, because this also had Kenan Thompson played the realtor. Timothy Simons was the brother-in-law. He's probably, I would say, most famous for his scenes on Veep, as Jonah Ryan, where he
Yeah.
worked, in the Kanye, call me Kanye West Wing. So there were a lot of like people in this. I would say they're like C-list tier, like C tier comedy type
Yeah.
people. I will say, like you said, there were some moments that I laughed out loud. To me, around the 45 to 50-minute mark, when they say, okay, we're going to go around back and we're going to get in through the back. And then there's this high wall. So she tries to boost him up and he farts in her face.
Mm-hmm.
And then his pants come off and then he crashes through like the playhouse and she realizes that there's just a side gate. And then they like blow into this house and it's just some family and they're reading The Night Before Christmas and shit. Yeah. And then they go walking across the pool. And then I will say that was also funny when they came back and their clothes had completely frozen.
Yes.
That was funny. I didn't think like the traps that he set. I hate, like, this is something that I hate in a movie like this, where he diagrams the whole thing out in colored chalk on a chalkboard. And then he lays all of his traps and he comes back and he looks at it and he does this.
The nod of approval.
The nod of self-approval. It's like, come on.
Yes.
Shooting her face up with the thumbtack or pushpin laden darts was really funny. What else was pretty good? The VR thing, while really funny, not at all believable.
Right.
Because I have a VR headset. There's no mistaking having one of those things strapped to your face. Like, there's no way that a person's going to come to and be like, oh my goodness, where am I at? I'm on a cliff. There doesn't feel like there's anything strapped to my face right now.
I honestly thought I missed something. When it happened, I was like, did I blink and like he got numbed to the face?
Yeah, no,
like,
it's just like, that's just one of those things you have to suspend disbelief for,
right?
A little bit. I also liked him getting cracked in the face, like cracked in the forehead with the pool ball. I thought that was pretty.
Yeah,
good,
that
especially when he came back with the basically the unicorn horn. It was just like you said, the difference between these people is like she's a teacher. Right. And like you said, they go from these nice people who are down on their luck to just hardened criminals in a span of 5 minutes, whereas Marv and Harry were already shitty. So it was good. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like I said, the biggest thing for me was I just didn't like the kid. I thought he was awful. He was an awful kid. Like, he goes to the Toys for Tots things, try to steal toys.
Yeah, try to steal his toys. Yeah.
And like the banter between him and the dad while they were in the open house was just like for me, it was really off-putting. So yeah, I mean, here's what I would say about this movie is it's about an hour and a half long, a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
And it's probably like if you have kids in that sort of like 8 to 12 range, it's got just enough slapstick and just enough like heartwarming bullshit that would probably be a good watch for them. But if you're just like looking to recapture the nostalgia of the original and then Lost in New York, this is not it. Yeah.
Don't make this your child's first Home Alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe do
and set them up. Be like, check this out. And now we'll watch Kevin McAllister. I did like the nods to the McAllisters, his brother.
Sure. That was Buzz,
is the police officer. Right. I like that. So that was fun. And the McAllister home security, all that good stuff. So the pizza is Little Nero's Pizza, all that stuff. I like those things. I like nods to the originals, but unfortunately and nothing can hold up to those movies. Those two are both great, but just don't try to make people, they could have done something where I don't know what they could have done. Cause sometimes they even make a joke about, I can't believe they try to remake. They even make that joke. I try to make. So it's like, you get it. You're in on this, but
you're in on it.
Yeah. I agree, Brenton. I don't have children. I am around children of this age. I think the kids, if I watch this movie with those kids, they lose their minds laughing because they don't care about plot. They don't care about plot.
Exactly.
So,
well, and that's the thing is the weird part about this is that at like maybe an hour and 20 minutes, there's too much plot.
Yeah, they try to throw all the plot in at the end, and it's like all that and nonsense. And
just give the people what they want,
Yeah.
Although I suppose, realistically, if you're just looking for an hour of people falling down and getting hurt, you could just watch a Jackass movie.
You could, yeah. Just give me Little nearest pizza and an old man a shovel.
Yeah. So we'll move from discussing immortal bandits to discussing immortal challenge champions. MTV's The Challenge Spies, Lies, and Allies season finale. We pick up where we left off from the previous episode, and the cells are tasked with completing different checkpoints. Devin's lack of physical conditioning appeared to weigh the purple cell down, but not as much as the entire orange cell's inability to solve a geometric puzzle and keep an American Gladiator's cage ball on the design track. After losing, the orange cell has to compete in elimination against each other the next morning. Kyle eliminates Nelson and Casey eliminates Nani. The agents then form pairs, with Kyle picking Tori, Casey picking CT, and Devin picking Emmy. They have to run up a mountain, memorize a code, and be the first to enter it and open a giant safe. The winner comes down to 10 seconds was the difference in time. Yeah. I read that somewhere today. 10 seconds as CT and Casey barely prevail over Tori and Kyle. Casey wins her first challenge, and CT, back-to-back winner, wins his fifth overall. Given the choice to divvy up the money, they choose to keep $800,000 between the two of them and reward the other four with $50,000 apiece.
Boring. Tori had said too that it was like 10 seconds. She said it in there. I thought it was interesting up until like, once Casey and won, and then she gets to pick whoever she wants.
Yeah, that kind of.
I texted you because I literally stopped there before I watched it, before the show, and I said, "Well, this is over now, unless because even if she breaks her ankle, CT will just throw her on his back, and it'll be fine." But good for her. I mean, you had predicted that. I was still going with Emmy. I mean, it's one of those things where I thought it was sort of unfair that you got to pick someone even though you lost. I thought that was a little weird that you lost. Yeah, but they
won the elimination.
They won an elimination. Yeah. I thought that was, but I still thought there was something like they were so many seconds behind or whatever, and then they still got the same. I thought that was a little weird. But anyhow, it's CT doing what CT does, 5-time champ. That's pretty crazy. He actually seems better now than when he won the first time. Mm-hmm. This is a man now in his 40s. He seems physically fit. We talked about how he, seems to be cleaner individual life. He seems more athletic, if that's somehow more possible. When he did that challenge where they were throwing the things on the rope at him, and he was just like a nimble little tiger going across there and then catching them. So unless Bananas comes back, I really don't see someone beating CT for a little while. He's the Tom Brady kind of thing going for him, where he's getting better with his age, and like his brain is still his best thing. I mean, he solved the puzzles. He's the reason. Like, not only is he the best athlete, he's not necessarily the best overall athlete, but he's so well rounded that he's an offensive, defensive player. It's like having, I guess the way I would compare him, it's almost like having, it's comparing like Giannis to Kevin Durant. And Durant's a better offensive player, but Giannis is probably better offensively and defensively. Total. And so you kind of, the total package. Not to say that Giannis is a better player necessarily. You want to probably have Durant on your team, but like Giannis is just unstoppable and on both ends. And this is how CT feels now. He's got the brains, he has the power. He's got the piercing blue eyes of a Siberian husky. So it's just. And now I start to feel like now that Casey finally has this off her shoulders, this monkey off her shoulders, she might go on a run. Yeah. Because she's tough. I mean, Tori and Casey are probably going to go back and forth. I think for a while, I think Tori's a pretty good competitor too, and very strong. But this might be a turn where we see Casey go for 3 or 4 championships too. I do feel bad. I think it may be over for double Nelly T.
You think he's just cooked?
I think he's cooked. That was rough.
Yeah.
When he was in the water and he just couldn't do it. We love him.
Well, that's always been like Leroy's bugaboo too, and translation, Leroy never won a championship.
Yep. And it's
that's
sad
not a
because
coincidence.
we love Double Nelly T. We love his weird references to things.
Yeah.
I would love to have him come on the show. And this is not, it's just, there comes a point where you realize someone's cooked and they can get so far. You know, we'll do one more basketball reference. I'll say this is Karl Malone, you know, puts up some good stats here and there, but you just know he's never going to win the championship. You just know it. There's not anything there that says to me he's going to win a championship. It's sad. But I think that his I think this may be like the time where he maybe doesn't go this far anymore.
Well,
I really feel like
it's
a mental thing for him more than anything.
I think there's two. I would respond to two things there. I'll take the Nelly thing first, just because kind of feeling everybody out. I think CT is going to take a season off because he's doing that movie, which is so weird, but whatever. He's doing that movie. I think Bananas is still out. He's got, the Ringer podcast, or Death, Taxes, and Bananas. He's got the NBC First Look thing that's on after Saturday Night Live. If Bananas comes back, it's just because he wants to compete. He doesn't need the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think Wes is out for at least another season.
I think so too.
So you take those three out. Leroy's retired. Corey has said he's going to take some time off for Ryder, which makes sense. That's fine. Yeah, that's probably the right thing to do. So who does that leave us with? Kyle might take the season off for his newborn. So who's that leave us with? It leaves us with Josh, we love Josh. He's a terrible record in challenges. He's got an equally terrible record in eliminations. You've got Fessy, who is a great villain at this point, and he'll probably win at some point. He's a physical specimen. I mean, Zach's won. So I feel like Zach is kind of the corollary to Fessy at this point. You got Nelly. After that, I mean, Devin, unless Devin puts down the beer can and starts hitting the treadmill, he's never going to win.
Which he has. He has committed himself to getting in better shape, because I do follow him on the Instagram, and he is definitely way more cut. So I think he is, doing that. And, that's the thing. As long as he keeps that going, trains for that, because he's just as good as CT, probably with the puzzles. That puzzle he did at the end, because you have to finish. He did the numbers by himself without one time through. That was insanely impressive. So if he can get himself going,
So the other thing that you had brought up that I'll respond to real quick is the Casey and Tori thing. I feel like, and this is probably a little unfair, but I feel like the way the challenges have been going, like the finals where they've been doing it in pairs, is almost like if you're one of the girls, you just have to not weigh a good guy down. Because not so much with this season, because I think Tori and Casey at the end were up to it. But last season, when Amber won, her biggest strength was just, I can run far distances, because they had to run long distances, and then CT just did everything else. Whereas when you have I think Leroy was paired with Nani, and it was well, he's done, because she just doesn't have the stamina. So I feel like they need to have separate winners. They need to have a men's winner and a women's winner, so that they can really compete against themselves, versus being either carried or in some cases weighed down, because realistically, Devin probably weighed Emmy down a little bit. You know what I mean? With his lack of stamina. I would prefer to see that rather than the pair thing. And I would also prefer to not do this ridiculous spy theme anymore. Just bring me back to War of the Worlds was fine, because it was, US versus random ass countries. Or hell, bring me back to Rivals.
Yeah.
Bring me back to Battle of the X's. The problem with that is there's not as many X's. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
there kind of is. Like, could you imagine Jordan and Tori being on a team?
Well, we need Jordan back.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I think
wonder
that's
if
where we
he's
need to
done
go.
because of what happened with him and Tori. You know what
I mean, I follow him on Instagram too. I mean, like he's like a freaking
he's just out there lifting
triathlete.
weights. Yeah.
He's a triathlete. I mean, this guy's a machine. If he comes back there and it's a season without, the big three.
Well, he's one with
He's the big
guys
three.
there.
He's one of the big three. I mean, like big four. I mean, he's on the Mount Rushmore, I would say.
No, Darrell. I'd put Darrell over Jordan.
You put Darrell over Jordan?
Yeah, Darrell won 4 seasons.
How many did Jordan have? 3?
I think he only had 2.
3 championships, 4 finals.
Okay.
With him up.
Darrell won 4 in a row.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan's awesome though. That's about it though. So I don't know. I mean, you're right. But I honestly do think with double NLT, it's a mental thing at this point. I think he has a thing where it doesn't necessarily matter. Plus, we're going to have new people. And we have rookies from this season that we know are good.
Yeah, sure.
I'm excited for the next season. Looking forward to them having 64 people on the next season. So it's just the NCAA tournament. We'll have a weekend, 4 days of 12 hours worth of challenge, which I would watch.
I would watch it too.
I would be like, all right, 9 to 9, let's do this. Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah.
What?
So we'll talk about the reunion a little bit next week.
Yeah.
See if anything fun comes out. I think that based on the preview that they're going to ask CT if he could take Fessy in a boxing match. And Melissa and I actually talked about that. And she's like, I don't know. And I said, you know what? If it was a boxing match in a ring with a referee, I bet you Fessy would beat him because he's been training for that. If it was a street fight, CT would probably go to jail because murder's not really acceptable.
Well,
because he wouldn't fight fair.
No, I don't. I mean, that is true. If it's like a straight up boxing match.
Yeah, Fessy's been in the ring.
If Fessy's been training, I don't know what CT's background with any of this is, other than I know he's been in actual fights with people in Boston.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting because it's one of those things where, Fessy would be technically sound, but if CT gets one shot in,
yeah, sure,
that's one of those things. It's like CT, it probably has a good chin.
Yeah, so, he can definitely take a punch.
He can definitely take a shot. We'll touch on that next week. Yeah, that's a fun little thing to get on there. But we will move on to something that makes the 6-pack for the first time in a while, actually. Star Wars news. Harrison Ford is rumored to be returning to a galaxy far, far away. Giant freaking robot reports that Ford shot scenes for an upcoming Star Wars project, pegging it as either the Book of Boba Fett or the Mandalorian, with de-aging effects being used. This was seconded by, we got this covered.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got this covered. It's a Disney blog.
This was,
or maybe it was Inside the Magic.
Covered.
It was one of the two. It was either Inside the Magic or we got this covered.
So it's out there. We'll just say it's out there. Harrison Ford likes money.
That's all he likes.
This is what we have that covered. That's what we have covered. For sure. Return of the Jedi and Fellowship of the Ring have been entered into the National Film Registry at the Library of Congress. All 3 original Star Wars films are now in the registry. Seems like 30 years late, but
well, A New Hope. Okay, so the next thing kind of clears that up is that under the terms of the National Film Preservation Act, each year the librarian of Congress names to the National Film Registry 25 motion pictures that are, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The films must be at least 10 years old. So A New Hope went in 89, but Empire didn't go. Empire, the best of the 3, didn't go in until like 2010, and now Jedi is 2021 or 2022, whatever. I didn't check on the Lord of the Rings to see if the other ones were in there, but let's step back a little bit and talk about Harrison Ford
Yes.
coming back as Han Solo, presumably.
We assume so.
I
Okay.
mean, I don't know who the hell else he'd be playing.
I just don't get. I like
Chewie.
If it makes sense, and we know the Mandalorian's good.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he's in the Mandalorian, this will make sense and be fine, and we'll be okay with it. We assume the Book of Boba Fett will be good.
Yeah.
We're I don't think it's a big
enough of the right people are involved.
Right. Yeah. So because it's these projects that we believe this to be the case for Harrison Ford, I think this will be fine. I'm not, whatever it is, it'll be cool that he's in it. We'll probably all be okay with it. It may be just a nothing thing too. It might just be kind of funny how I'll be in it and then like not really that big of a deal. That would be kind of funny. But I'm not concerned about it because of what the actual shows are that he is linked to.
Right. I have a feeling that it'll be very much in the same way that Mark Hamill made a powerful but brief cameo at the end of Mandalorian season 2. Here's my most wildest prediction. Okay. The Book of Boba Fett is however many episodes it's going to be. I can't remember if it's been said how many episodes it's going to be. And he retakes the crime lord title or whatever. He becomes the new boss on Tatooine since the Hutts are gone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end, Han Solo just rolls in and kills him for capturing him, freezing him in carbonite. Like he just comes in, Han shot first, walks back out. I mean, I think that's on the table, but it's probably not what the appearance will be.
Right.
The other thing is I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like something in Mandalorian season 3 where they need to like track down some information and there's an old sky pirate that's floating out there.
Yes.
An old scruffy looking nerve herder, a scoundrel, if you will, that's sitting out there and that's who they contact. Maybe we get a Chewie appearance, which would be great. I love Chewie.
Well, that'd be awesome. Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. As long as we get something like that, there's nothing. I just don't want it to be too much or seem like it's supposed to be, and because it's in those shows, presumably, then I think we'll be all right. But Harrison Ford likes money.
I don't know what else is,
because we all do,
in production right now.
Right.
Other than those two things. I mean, I don't think Ahsoka started. Rangers of the New Republic got canceled. And I can't think of what else is. Patty Jenkins' thing got shelved. Ryan Johnson's thing got shelved. So those are the only two things that I'm aware of right now. So if it's true, it has to be one of those two things.
Right.
So, yeah. I think that's like they beat us over the head. And we've talked about this, especially recently in relationship to Ghostbusters Afterlife, is in the sequel trilogy, they beat us over the head with these appearances from these characters, these legacy characters, Leia, Luke, Han, Chewie, whatever, R2, 3PO, so on and so forth. And it was like too much to the point where it wasn't even tasteful in our opinion. Now we realize that there are some folks out there who did enjoy that, and that's fine. Everybody's allowed to like what they want to like. But with Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think that there's a little bit of a blueprint there as to how to do this. And I think that they kind of did that with The Mandalorian, which was, there wasn't any scene more amazing than that scene where Luke lands his X-Wing, cuts through those, whatever the hell they were called, dark troopers, cuts through them like a hot knife through butter and just is like, hey, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here for the child, and then deuces.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was, it was enough. Like the internet went crazy for that.
Yeah.
And it was just enough. It was just tasteful enough. And so that's my hope for this, is that
I feel like it will be, like we said, because of who's in charge.
Right. So when do you think the prequels will be put into the National Film Library?
So 10 years.
Yeah.
So
we're past the threshold.
Episode 1 will be this year, I guess, this next upcoming year. So it'd be 20 years. So they'd be like, we messed up. Yeah. So we messed up. We need to catch up. So probably just back years.
Yeah.
Or maybe just all three at once.
Or never.
Or never.
Okay.
It's either all three at once next year or never. One or the other.
We'll move on to two award nominations, two different award show nominations. Award season has officially begun with the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards. Belfast, a movie no one will see, and West Side Story, a movie adaptation that no one asked for, led the way with as the Critics' Choice nominations were announced this week. The Critics' Choice Association nominated Belfast and West Side Story for 11 awards, including Best Picture each. Friend of the program, Nicolas Cage, was nominated for Best Actor for his role in Pig and will face off against Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Benedict Cumberbatch, Peter Dinklage, and Andrew Garfield. Lady Gaga, Jessica Chastain, Olivia Colman, Nicole Kidman, Kristen Stewart, and Haim's sister Elena Haim are up for Best Actress. Dune, also up for Best Picture, is nominated for 10 times, with many coming for visual effects. This will be our first peek into award season, so we have a glimpse of what Academy Awards will look like. The Golden Globe nominations were also announced despite the fact that the show was canceled by NBC. Belfast and The Power of the Dog earned the most film nominations with 7, including Best Motion Picture, Drama. In the acting categories, Oscar favorites, including King Richard's Will Smith, and Spencer's Kristen Stewart picked up nominations, though there were some surprises in the mix, including a Best Actress Motion Picture Comedy or Musical nod for Cruella's Emma Stone. There were also a few snubs, including Jennifer Hudson missing out on an acting nomination for Respect. Meanwhile, the nominations for Best Television Series Drama were Lupin, The Morning Show, Pose, Squid Game, and Succession, while The Great Hacks, Only Murders in the Building, Reservation Dogs, and Ted Lasso were nominated for Best TV Series Comedy. The nominations come after the HFPA faced backlash over alleged corruption and revelations that the organization had 0 Black members. The Golden Globes' longtime home of NBC announced it wouldn't air 2022's show, saying the HFPA needs time to institute meaningful reform.
Yeah. A lot. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association is the HFPA.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going in here. It is funny though. Like I saw that Belfast was nominated for Best Picture, and I was like, I have not heard of this movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm fairly up on movies. Every other movie I've heard of to at least a degree. And this movie I had not heard of. So I thought that was funny because they're always trying to be sneaky with these things. And it's just like, and it's like, this movie is probably fine. And I may see it because I usually try to see every movie that's nominated for Best Picture. And then I'll probably watch it and I'll be like, that was a good movie. I'll never watch it again.
Right.
And then, a lot of these other movies like Licorice Pizza or Dune, I'll watch several times in my life because it's Paul Thomas Anderson or it's Dune and it looks awesome. So that was the weird thing for me. But the biggest thing for me was that Nick Cage nominated.
Yeah.
And so this is what happens.
The Cage-a-sance.
We get the Cage-a-sance. And everybody's gonna be rooting for Nick Cage. You can already see, Denzel getting nominated. He was like, "Yeah, I'm happy to nominate, but we're glad to see Nick back in the mix." And so we get this, and this is what pushes him getting to the Academy Awards. And this is what we want. This is what the BXG podcast now is. We're a stand account for Nick Cage winning an Oscar.
He's already won an Oscar.
No, for this movie though. This movie.
Yeah. Calm down, Janie. We
want him back. We want the full circle back to Nick Cage. Oscar winner. We want him back winning another.
Belfast is a Kenneth Branagh movie, which I'm sure tells us enough that we need to know that it's probably really well acted, filmed, and directed, and probably boring as all fuck. Our respect for the man. But yes. That's his style. I think that this feels like a Will Smith year. And I know that that's probably much to your chagrin because you were talking about your distaste for him the other day, but the King Richard thing and Tony and Nick from My Mom's Garage they came on our movie podcast, both spoke very highly of this film and of his performance in it. And I just feel like Will Smith is just kind of like due. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Leo thing, like Leo or even Scorsese was like, well, they're due, so we got to give them something. And it wasn't necessarily their best work. I didn't think The Departed was Scorsese's best movie.
Right.
By a long shot. You know what I mean? It almost felt like a Lifetime Achievement Award type deal.
Right.
And I could see that being a little bit of the case with Will. But I will say, I watched The Power of the Dog. It is, as I kind of alluded to on the pod with From My Mom's Garage for the movie thing that we did here on that released on Tuesday. I said Benedict Cumberbatch's character is so good because he makes you hate him. Benedict Cumberbatch plays a great dickhead. Like he's not a bad guy. He doesn't have villainous or evil intent. He's just a dickhead. In a lot of his roles, even roles that he's a good guy. Doctor Strange is a douchebag.
Right.
You know, he's cocky, he's arrogant, he's pompous, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this movie was nominated for Golden Globes for Best Picture, Best Actor in a Drama, Best Supporting Actor in Anything, Best Supporting Actress in Anything. If you're looking for like some rah action, this is not it. It's pretty slow movie. But it's really good. It's just really good acting. And I think that maybe, I think Will's kind of the favorite, but I could see Benedict Cumberbatch being kind of like the dark horse and all.
Well, there's always someone, like when you say Will Smith is the favorite, and I think like you're right where, you know, it's he was due for this kind of thing. And you know what? I mean, my thing was it wasn't that I was like tired of Will Smith in the sense of whatever it was that we got too much of him all at once.
Right.
Because he had the book and he had this movie, and then there was the whole thing about, you know, he and his wife. And it was just like, okay, I don't need all this shoved on my face. Thing. Yeah. And then the Nat Geo thing. So it's just all these things at once kind of happened. And that always kind of annoys me when it's just everything all at once. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are. That is just something that is just, I've never been like a huge fan of like, let's just shove this in our face. So I didn't watch that movie out of that. Like I was just, I didn't need it in my life. And I'm sure it's good. And I've heard other people that have watched it, like, you know, and you know, like you said, and enjoyed the movie and thought he was really good in it. I just, when someone gets shoved in my face, I don't normally like that. So that's why I'm at that point. If he wins something like this, I'm not going to be upset. I just, you know, like we just want we want the full Nick Cage, the full circle back. So,
and we're going to get it right now with a trailer reaction.
Woo!
We need some music for that. We're going to be doing a trailer reaction for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nick Cage, as well as others. This is a movie that Nick has coming up here. I'm not 100% sure of when the official release date is, but we're looking forward to it because we love Nick Cage.
That's right.
So Nick Cage, Pedro Pascal, starring in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Trailer reaction. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. He is playing himself. Also, Doogie Howser.
Yes.
Not that you went anywhere. That's exactly right. Croods too.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
This is great.
A living legend. That's the truth.
I love it. And there's Pedro Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my God. It just dropped. Oh my gosh. Well, that's great.
That's happening.
That's awesome.
That's gonna be happening. April.
I'm so stoked.
April
Yeah.
2022. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage, Neil Patrick Harris, Pedro Pascal. Can't wait.
Count me in. Count me in.
Count me in twice.
Yeah.
God, I love Nicolas Cage.
Me too.
Florence Pugh joins the cast of Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's next work, that also includes Cillian Murphy and RDJ, among others.
I think that movie's gonna be awesome.
I'm sure it will be. Just given, So, Mega Man. There's a live action Mega Man film in the works at Netflix because they did such a great job adapting Cowboy Bebop.
Yep. They're like, we killed it. We absolutely killed it.
Let's take aims on a bigger franchise. Let's see what else we can kill. I got a dog creeping in here, so that's fun.
Hopefully it's your dog.
Yeah, it's the one I like too. So
okay, that's good.
On the eve of season 2 of The Witcher, Henry Cavill says he would like to be in a Warhammer and/or Mass Effect series. Calm down, Henry.
He just loves it. He loves action.
He loves nerd stuff. I mean,
yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah,
Someone
it is cool.
That looks like him is a huge nerd.
Yeah, huge nerd. Built his own gaming PC.
Yeah.
Helped with The Witcher, like translating the Polish novels and all that shit. Unfortunately, this is a big bummer. Fast 10 has been delayed until May of 2023. So it's going to take us a little bit longer to have that family reunion.
I feel like they are actually attempting to bring Paul Walker back from the dead, and this is the delay.
Jesus Christ. Zorro is going to be rebooted at Disney with Vilmer Valderrama as the titular character.
As on that 70s show.
Yeah.
Also a star of the movie that I have on my recommendations, which is funny.
That is funny. Also the host of former MTV show Yo Mama.
Oh yeah, that show was pretty funny for what it was.
I guess it was. The Russo brothers, Joel and Anthony, have stated that they are open to return to the MCU now that Scarlett Johansson's situation has been resolved.
Yay.
Yeah, said they would do it in a heartbeat. The only other movie that I could think of that the Russos have directed, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or you have prior knowledge of their, Winter Soldier, great.
Yeah.
Civil War, great. Infinity War, amazing. Endgame, perfect ending to the Infinity Saga. Cherry, huge steaming dumpster fire.
Just keep him in the MCU. That's what we know.
Yeah, same with Tom. Tom Holland. Speaking of Tom Holland, his next Spider-Man project is already committed and in pre-production.
That is not shocking.
Although he said in an interview that he would like to take some time off to work on starting a family. So there's also that with Zendaya, because I think they're dating. I think that's a thing.
They are dating. They are.
They haven't made it official though, I don't think.
I feel like they are official.
Other than them getting to have a picture of them making out in a car.
Right. That's official enough.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe they were rehearsing. That's true. Yeah. I mean, it was done filming like 6 months ago, but maybe they were rehearsing. Finally,
the pre-production. That's the pre-production.
There you go. Finally, in just horrific science news, as always, can't not talk about the horrors of the deep.
Fresh new hell.
As we can. Fresh new hell. And I'm actually going to see if I can. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to call this up here real quick. Do a little share screen for the YouTube viewers. Okay, here we go. This is what's coming at you. The barrel-eyed fish. It has a translucent head.
It's just, I don't tend to get as freaked out by these things as much as you do. This one's too weird.
There's no reason. What is the purpose of having your head be translucent? Like, imagine if your head was translucent.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Here's my other thing. Look at this picture. Doesn't he look sad?
He looks very sad.
He or she,
or they, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But
what are these green things? Like, what is that? Like, I assume this is the brain. Right here. This is just, it looks like some kind of a perverse science project.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, there he is, the barrel-eyed fish.
There he is in all his glory.
Translucent head. Here's some fish facts.
It's terrifying.
Some fish facts. Number one, it's terrifying. First of all, the term barrel-eyed fish actually refers to a small family of physically quite unique fish. Furthermore, all of these incredible creatures, that's a matter of opinion, live deep in the depths of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. The various species also live in both temperate and tropical regions. Good for them. Also, the common name of the amazing group. Let's stop with the hyperbole here. Our breathingplanet.com. The common name of this amazing group derives from the unique nature of the eyes that hold true due to the fact that orbs generally develop directed straight upward. This trait serves as an evolutionary adaptation.
Oh my God, that's why.
To see silhouettes of potential prey.
That is why.
That's fucking insanity.
What a thing to have. Oh my goodness.
One more look at her.
That's a beauty.
Oh my.
It's deep, deep in the ocean, Brent. You'll never have to worry about it.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe that was the thing living on the cubic hut. On the
That's
moon.
true. That's true.
It's
it could be.
You
don't plan on moving to the moon anytime soon, though.
I'd go to Mars in a heartbeat.
It's so hot. We're
like
cold.
if Elon came to me and said, "Hey, we need somebody who hosts an independent podcast to chronicle our mission and then life on Mars afterwards. We want it to be you." I'd be like, "Hey, Greg, I got some bad news for you."
How's the Wi-Fi there?
I don't know. We'll see. Media recommendations.
Elf, which is the timeless classic, watched it with my class this week. They're like, some of them were like, "Why are we watching Elf?" And I said, "Because Mr. Filson likes this and it's my class. So that's what we're doing."
You should have shown him Home Sweet Home Alone.
Maybe tomorrow after we watch the first movie.
Could have killed two birds with one stone there.
That's true. There's also, I don't do this often, but there's a New Yorker feature on Allison Roman, who I do talk about quite a bit in this, but it's great. I think it digs into her Renaissance, and now she kind of does her own thing. We watched another holiday movie called Unaccompanied Minors. It's these kids that get stuck at a airport. It's a lot of hijinks, which is like the right amount of hijinks. So it's like not the greatest movie in the world, but if you have kids or you just kind of want background movie, really great for that.
Yeah.
And then we started watching, and just like that, the Sex and the City kind of spinoff, whatever. I actually never watched Sex and the City, which is amazing because I love Sarah Jessica Parker. And so it's incredible. I've never seen it, but I will go back and watch that because I love it. Just like that.
So let me get this straight. Okay. We're gonna assume some things to be true, right?
Yes.
We're gonna assume, there you go, there's your snowman. We're gonna assume that when it comes to things like Sex and the City, that 9 times out of 10, you would be the person more likely to watch it than me.
Right.
And if it came to something with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it, 9 times out of 10, I would be the person more likely to have watched it.
This is that one.
We can consider that
We
fair.
can 100% say that.
This is the one.
Yep.
I've seen the full series of Sex and the City and both movies, one of them in the theater.
There you go. I will catch up on Sex and the City. I was unaware it was a half-hour show. It was one of those things like I didn't know who I could watch it with, and maybe I felt sad watching it alone. So maybe that was it. But I will catch up on that now that I I'm going to be all in and be a Sex and the City guy.
I'll quote for my situation. I'll quote Jamie Lannister, "The things I do for love." Because boy, was it an experience that made me want to shove a fork in my eye.
Did not like it?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't. For me, The Wheel of Time, I'm caught up. It's something that
Nice.
we're gonna review. Ty's gonna come on, Ty McAfee's, Bob Sacamano, whatever other alias is gonna come on to talk that out with us. He has read at least the first 3 novels of The Wheel of Time. I was really like the first episode I was because I talked to you about it. The first episode I was like, I don't know, man, this looks real budget. And then it got better with each passing episode. We watched a new animated Pixar DreamWorks like movie that came to Netflix called Back to the Outback. It's all Australian actors and actresses.
Nice.
Except Wayne Knight's in it. So I don't believe him to be Australian, but I think his wife is, and she was one of the producers. So
okay.
I also, for the first time, watched the movie Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm here to tell you, not that bad.
I figured it was okay. At worst, okay.
Well, so video game movies don't have a great track record, especially when the premise deals with said character making a human friend, and the human friend being played by James Marsden.
True.
But Jim Carrey is Dr. Robotnik. Let me tell you, if you're looking for this is the most unlikely place to find nostalgia, but if you're looking for it, you're going to get it with this, because Dr. Robotnik is just Ace Ventura as a bad guy.
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
That's
it's
awesome.
just that character.
Good. That's all he should be.
Instead of being good, he's bad. That's it.
That's good.
Yeah. So it wasn't that bad. And then I also kind of talked about The Power of the Dog. I finished up on Netflix. I'm kind of between games right now, and there's nothing I really want to play. So I've been doing a lot of movies and TV, and I think I'm going to delve into The Witcher season 1 and get on that. Who knows what will happen now that I have like 2 weeks off to catch up on books and TV shows. So that'll be interesting. We'll see where we go. Maybe I'll I'll definitely watch The Wheel of Time. Maybe even read The Wheel of Time, because I've always wanted to do that. So we'll see what happens they're really long.
They're very long, but they're supposed to be really, really good. So
yeah. I tried to read the first one twice. The second time I made it about 3/4 of the way through.
That happens.
And kind of fell off on it. So, but anyway, BXG Podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific, 4 a.m. Hawaiian.
Aloha.
On Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Melikalikimaka.
Right? Is the thing to say.
Right? Yeah. That's what they say on the island.
That's what they say.
On Podbean,
I guess I've never actually been. Have you been to Hawaii, Brenton?
I haven't been west of the Mississippi.
Oh,
wait, have I? Kansas City. That's as far west as I've been. I think that's west of the Mississippi. Yeah, it is, because of the arch, whatever. That's as far west as I've been. But 9 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services around the globe. You can catch us on social media, facebook.com/BXG Podcast, Instagram @BXG Podcast, @GTFills, @Y2B, Twitter @BXG Podcast, @GTFilson, @Y2B, and on our YouTube channel, BXG Podcast. Listen to our year-end wrap-ups for video games, movies, music coming up, all with guests, all with great guests. Had a great time with Charles, had a great time with Nick and Tony, presumably, with DJ, our friend DJ Outro. He's got some exciting news coming up too. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. But Otherwise, this will be the last episode. No, we'll have an episode Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, that, and
Hawkeye.
we also have a reaction video. I'm seeing Spider-Man right after this. Get ready.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is we'll have a Spider-Man review. It'll be on YouTube this weekend, so it'll be part of the podcast next week, but it'll be on the YouTube channel this weekend. Not 100% sure because I'm not sure which day I'm seeing it, but I'm angling towards Saturday, so we'll see.
Cool.
But so hopefully we'll have it up Saturday. I'll post it as soon as we're done recording it, basically. So
Stoked.
Tell your friends, tell your families,
Tell your mothers
about the unmistakable essence of the BXG podcast. Take care, friends.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye.